what we as an organization believe in is that there's nothing called social work. It is our
Mm.
social duty, and that is ingrained in anyone who joins this organization, which is aligned to our vision of economic independence and dignity for all. I mean, even those, who we give food to, we're not doing any charity. They deserve it. It is their basic right, and it is our duty to serve them. And, we are very proud that, once the homeless are now serving the homeless.
Welcome. This is Phil Michaels, Forbes 30 Under 30 entrepreneur and performance coach. Forbes names the top 30 entrepreneurs, leaders, and stars in the world, and each week we bring you one of them to help you level up in your life and business. From celebrities like LeBron James to Kylie Jenner and Cardi B, you're sure to learn from the list. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now it's time to level up. Level up. Welcome to Phil with Forbes 30 podcast. Today we have a very special guest. She believes that compassion and courage are the two weapons that could eradicate most problems that our world faces today. She vouches that development is inclusive and can only happen by embracing and empowering people from the most vulnerable factions of society. And an efficient way to do this is through enabling them with a means to livelihood, which is both sustainable and allows them to lead a life of dignity. With this thought, she founded Mitti Cafe in 2017, which is a cafe to employ adults with physical, intellectual, and psychological disabilities to showcase their abundant potential for productive activity and create awareness for the cause of equal opportunities in employment. The menu, the tools, and the infrastructure of the cafe is specifically designed to be more inclusive for those that are disabled, such as even menus in Braille. Prior to this, she founded her first NGO, SSRI, in Mumbai at the age of only 18, while in her first year of college. She started and led a similar outreach organization whilst doing her master's from her university in Bangalore. She has motivated and engaged thousands of youth in activities that could render measurable social change. In the short span, Mitti Cafe and Alina have been featured in the Forbes 30 Under 30 list, have won awards like the Mindtree Helen Keller Award, Times of India She Unlimited Award, and the India Social Entrepreneur of the Year Award, as amongst many others. Please welcome my very special guest, Alina from Calcutta, India. Thank you so much for being here today. Very excited and my pleasure to have you here. I'm honored.
Thank you for having me here, Phil. It's a great opportunity to share our stories with the rest of the world, and thank you so much for making this happen.
It's my pleasure. Again, I'm honored always to speak with Forbes 30 Under 30 members. You deserve the accomplishment, and it's got you to where you are now. And speaking of that, when you think of that moment when you first found out you made the Forbes list, what do you remember about that moment? Where were you?
I was with my family, of course, amidst the COVID-19 crisis that, we're all dealing with. And, at that point, it was more about, coordinating, with respect to getting food to the most vulnerable. But then amidst all of that, of course, it was a moment of joy for me, for my family, and most importantly, for the people who deserve it the most, our team on the ground, our team of adults with disabilities, who've just worked so hard and so passionately with so much of heart to make this happen. Yeah, it was a very happy moment.
A very proud moment for all of us. And Alina, please take us back to the very beginning, where you're from, where you grew up, and the path that led you to where you are today.
So Phil, fortunately, while growing up, we didn't have a lot of money in the family. And I'd say fortunately because we learned to value the other important aspects of life. Today is Eid, which is it's a very happening festival for us, a very happy day after fasting for a month. And traditionally, you get to wear new clothes. So as children, we would look forward to new clothes, and then there were Eids where when we didn't get new clothes, but because we couldn't afford it as a family. But I even on those days, even on those Eids, I could see that my parents indulged in philanthropic activities, in helping people, who are less privileged, and they would make us participate in that and share that joy. So and that never really rubbed off. It started from a very young age, where we learned to value the other important things in life apart from money. um, Post that, when I was doing my graduation, like final year of college, another thing that changed the course of my life is this one documentary. It's called Nero's Guests. I don't know whether you're aware of that.
Tell me
So
about it. I'm
basically,
going to write it down so I can watch it. How do you spell it?
it's called Nero, Nero's Guests. It's a fascinating documentary that changed my life, and given a chance, I'd perhaps want to talk a little bit about it, because it was a turning point for me.
Please do.
And yeah, so basically, it's a very short story, but then it did change the way I viewed my life. So Nero was this emperor in the mighty Roman Empire, and he was wealthy, and he would fight battles and win one war after the other. One day, he won the biggest battle of his life. And when you win, what do? You celebrate, right? You party. So, and that's exactly what he decided to do. He decided to party, and he invited the who's who of Tinseltown, prince and princesses, kings and queens. And so, in a party, you would also require light, right? And then you didn't have bulbs. And he had this idea that, why not burn some waste? And that's what he did. He decided to burn the prisoners of war, so as to light the party. So while evening befell, prisoners prisoners burnt, and people danced, they sang, they laughed, and the moment of realization for me was that. So there'll always be a lot of Neros fill in this world, like everywhere, across time. But the problem was Nero's guests. How they could sing and dance while fellow human beings died. And at that point, when I was sitting in that classroom, I realized who I was, and I was indeed one of Nero's guests then. uh, which meant for me that, if you're seeing that, there's some atrocity that's happening, and you're not doing anything about it, or if you keep keeping silent, when oppression is happening, then you've taken the side of the oppressor. So I started volunteering with organizations that work in the inclusion space, and I realized that disability is it's the problem is not that there are 70 million people with disabilities in India and a billion in the world, but the problem is the disability in our own perception. So wanted to create this visible, tangible, interactive model of inclusion that could create awareness about inclusion, and the success or failure of which would directly be dependent on its interaction with the community. So Mitti Cafe happened.
A beautiful story. And it's amazing how documentaries or that one book or one person can dramatically change the trajectory of our lives. And so that one experience in your life is what ultimately led to your drive, your passion, your inspiration for starting Mitti Cafe. And how did you go about actually taking that education, that light bulb moment for you, and turning it into a physical location? Because you're in 4 cities now. I mean, you're growing very quickly. So how did you get to that moment where you first made your very first cafe, a physical, tangible location?
Well, so like in most startups, you have similar stories, right, of empty pockets and failed sales attempts. And our model is simple: that we have these cafes that are managed by adults with disabilities. We have these within institutions, that is within corporates and educational institutions. So at that point of time, I was terrible at pitching, I'm sure. So a lot of failed sales attempts, and corporates not willing to give us a space, which is when I decided to go to this small town called Hubli, where there was this one incubation center called Deshpande Foundation. They're fantastic. They decided to incubate us. And so I started my first cafe in this tin shed full of generations of rats. And which is when I've always believed in the power of the community. And if to make the community stakeholders in whichever movement you're doing for it to be sustainable. So it was the students who helped me clean the cafe, the localites, and hence we are here at 12 cafes now.
12 cafes in 4 cities. I mean, what a tremendous story, coming from empty pockets to this many locations. So what's the main reason that people get inspired to dine at your cafe? I know you have hot and cold beverages as well. So what's the main reason that you find customers are attracted to your cafes over another cafe, for example?
So while we are very, very cautious about the quality, about maintaining uh, very prominent standard operating procedures when it comes to safety and hygiene, but our USP has always been our people and the kind of service that people go back with. That has always been our value add. And for our customers, they know how important they are to, that one Kirti or that one Rajshekhar who's working at that cafe, who's failed that one job interview after the other, and here they are thriving, working with dignity. And the reason how this is possible is because of the customers who are coming into the cafe. So they are participants in this model of development,
So
which
they
they're
feel
aware.
like they're not just grabbing a hot cup of tea, but they're also giving back to someone's livelihood.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, this is unbelievable that you're able to do this at such a young age as well. What do you think was the single most important personal attribute that got you to where you are today?
I think adamance is one very important, attitude, and we call it ziddi in Hindi. So you can learn this word ziddi.
Zibdi.
Ziddi, Ziddi. So, which means adamance. I still remember, Phil, there was this one time. So, I would apply to one incubation center after the other and get rejected at most of them. And then one fine day, I got a call that, hey, you've been shortlisted for this, particular pitch. And, I went and I pitched. And fortunately or unfortunately, we could see the scores after that. So there was this, so of course there were various parameters. So there was like idea, whatever, like out of five, maturity out of five, and there was one, and then, a lot of other criteria. And there was this one criteria called passion. And of course, in most of them, it was like a 1 out of 5 because, we had just started and we were pretty bad then. But I
It
had
felt like
always,
you got a 1 out of 5 in passion. I feel like you're such a passionate person. How the hell did that
I
happen?
that was a unanimous decision by 3 judges. It was a 1 out of 5 in passion, and then I mean it really hurt my ego because at that point of time I thought that's the experience I don't have, a lot of things I don't, but passion is something I definitely have. And I went back home and I cried. And that was the turning point, right? Like, one is what the world feels about you, and the other bit is what this part your heart says to you every day. And I was fortunate that I followed my heart and I followed my passion. I was adamant to not give up, and that's really something that helped.
So what advice would you give someone in a similar situation where they're getting turned down left and right, that the judges are turning them down, the investors are turning them down, they're young. I'm sure you start questioning, like, am I on the right path here? Do I have the right idea? Am I the right person? Is this the right team? Do I have the right product or service? What advice would you give someone in a similar situation to help them persevere, be adamant to move forward?
Absolutely. One advice that has really worked for me is to be a leech in every situation. Wherever you are, suck the best out of that situation. And every situation, you're going to get something out of it. Um, just believe in the fact that tomorrow is going to be a better day. Have faith. Faith can really move mountains, and it's not just a saying. But then, since I've always had a lot of faith in, you can call it God or you could call it, any energy. But then there's definitely a force out there that just wants you to succeed if you're there to do some good, and if you have passion. So believe in that force, work really hard, you must tie your camel, and have positive people around you. That is very, very important. And be adamant, like I said, that don't, I mean, the more difficult it is, the more stories you'll have at the end of the day.
That's actually a good point. And you don't want it to be easy. You want yourself to be better. And so in order to be better, you need to overcome those challenges, those obstacles, because if it's easy, then you're not being well tested. There's a good quote I always reference back to. I used to have it hanging above my bed, which is, good timber is not made with ease. The stronger the wind, the stronger the trees. And I'm a
Wow.
huge fan of that because it means, you want to put yourself almost through this challenging environment. You want to put yourself in a place where you can overcome tough obstacles, because then if you've been able to do that several times, you become better and better each time you do it. You're more well equipped to face the next challenge or obstacle that comes your way. You have more tools in your toolbox to achieve success. And for you, you did that. And I like how you called it like a sponge, where you soak up every ounce of positivity that you can from that moment, even if at first or at face value it seems like a pain or something negative. You said, let me
Yeah.
turn this into something positive that I could benefit from.
Yeah, and Phil, when I said that be a leech, it's important to understand what I meant. It meant that remember that even places that you turn down from, or people who can't help you at that moment. Remember that if you stick on, and if you, I mean, desperation works in a lot of situations. Uh, you know. Uh, Whether you, because for a lot of us entrepreneurs, when we just start, we feel that, hey, I mean, is it good to be desperate? Is it good to be so sticky? I'd say it is. I mean, desperation has worked out for me, where people who couldn't help me at one point, if I've gone back to them later, even after a couple of years later, I mean, things have turned positive. So one must remember.
It reminds me of the saying, necessity is the mother of all invention.
Yeah.
Sometimes out of necessity, you need to make it happen. Out of desperation, you need to make it happen. Thinking of your journey and desperation, and what has been your biggest lesson during your journey that maybe you wish you had learned earlier?
I think all of us are designed in a way that, what the world says does affect us. So, if only my younger self would understand the value of having a rhino skin, life would have been easier.
There you go. Have a tough skin to make sure you just brush it off and keep moving forward. So, thinking about hustling and thinking about being scrappy and adamant and persevering, what's something scrappy you did to hustle that maybe you couldn't have revealed in the very beginning when you were first starting out, but you're able to share now?
Um, uh, so for me, what one of the incidents that I remember was that when I said that I realized the value of the community, pretty early on, in my entrepreneurship journey, and that's really been an asset. So whether it's been those young students who helped us clean that tin shed, which was full of generations of rats, or the local printer, who printed those pamphlets for me in, their local language, Kannada, which I distributed from door to door, house to house, the vacancy pamphlets for if anybody has a disability to come by. I promised all of them free tea and samosa once the cafe starts, because then I didn't have money.
Oh,
But that
wow.
did work out, and yeah, and we could afford to pay them with love, with our some hot samosas
Mm.
and tea once the cafe started. So
And
yeah.
they loved your passion, your energy. So you proved those judges wrong. You got them to believe in you. So this is a good lesson for those that are listening that might not have a lot of disposable income, might not have an investment, might not have revenue or grant funding. You can
Yeah.
trade services for other services. So you trade time. So if you need someone to build that website for you and you have a friend who's a developer, but maybe you can offer him or her something that maybe they're looking for as well. Maybe you're really good at writing up emails or email marketing that you could trade services for, and you happen to use love and passion and enjoy, and that inspires people to want to help, and you were doing something good. So what's next for the business? I mean, you have 12 cafes, you're in 4 cities. Where do you go next?
So we are looking, towards expanding to other cities in India and overseas as well. It doesn't really. So for us, it is, in the next 3 years, Phil, we're looking at 100 cafes. But um,
Uh,
as I was already mentioning to you that when we're looking at 100 cafes, we'll employ 1,000 people with disabilities. But there are 70 million people with disabilities in our country, India, and a billion across the world. The idea is to create awareness about inclusion. That there are many, many more Mitti cafes. It doesn't have to be, the name Mitti. As far as the concept reaches far and wide across the world, we'd be very happy to support anyone who wants to do anything similar, and join the movement. It is a movement that the world owes to these people, because these people deserve so much more, and it is about time that the disability and our perceptions disappear. It is not the question of their ability anymore.
Great point. And I'm sure those listening are going to want to visit your location now, because instead of just getting a tea with no impact, you can get a tea with an impact. And so that's an easy decision, an easy choice. Which cities are you in now?
Currently, we're in Hubli, Bangalore, Calcutta, and Bhubaneswar. We plan to start our Mumbai chapter very soon.
How has COVID impacted this? Because I'm sure it's harder to meet in person. How are you able to serve your guests, your customers, and keep your staff employed? How are you playing offense rather than
So that's
defense?
a very important question. So for us, since we're only within institutions, we are not in public spaces at all, which means all the corporates that we're in, they shut down around February. So none of their cafeterias were working end Feb. So we sent back our employees with disabilities home, so that they could be safe. And But then a lot of our adults with disabilities have been rehabilitated from the street. They were either begging or were homeless, and we trained them, and they've been working exceptionally well at all our
Wow.
cafes. These people permanently live in our accommodation, and you'll be very happy to know that it is just fascinating to see the kind of kindness that comes in from people who we label as vulnerable, and who'd ideally only be requiring help. Our team of adults with disabilities who couldn't go back home or who permanently stay with us came up with this idea because we are facing a huge crisis where there are so many daily wage earners who've lost their jobs. uh, you know there are so many homeless people, people with leprosy, people from the rat pickers communities, people from the stone cutters communities, who have no money or
Wow.
savings to buy food or water. It is our team of adults with disabilities who came to us and they said that we must do something during this crisis. It is our people who are cooking and serving meals to 3,500 daily wage earners and the homeless every day. Till now, we've served over 3.5 lakh meals.
Wow.
So this is completely been cooked and served by our employees with disabilities.
Talk about
And
playing offense. Is you're not even just thinking about the business, you're thinking about how do we impact the world, how do we impact those that need it most, and you're giving back by feeding them, giving them nutrition and nourishment even when your business isn't operating. I commend you. That's incredible
because
and laudable
because
work.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Phil, what we as an organization believe in is that there's nothing called social work. It is our
Mm.
social duty, and that is ingrained in anyone who joins this organization, which is aligned to our vision of economic independence and dignity for all. I mean, even those, who we give food to, we're not doing any charity. They deserve it. It is their basic right, and it is our duty to serve them. And we are very proud that once the homeless are now serving the homeless, which is a proud moment for
It
us
shows
today.
them a path out too. It serves as inspiration. If, hey, if my friend over here was able to get out of poverty, maybe I could do the same. And it gives them a path, a way forward. And that's beautiful. It's not just I like what you said. It's not just CSR, corporate social responsibility. It's just
Yeah,
responsibility.
absolutely.
And you're in corporation. You're not standalone cafes. You actually partner with
Yeah.
entities that want to serve their guests. So what's some of the biggest companies that you work with or have partnered with that house your facility?
Absolutely. So we've partnered with a lot of inclusive corporates. The first corporate to give us a space in India has been ANZ Bank, Australia New Zealand Bank, followed by Infosys, Wipro, Wells Fargo, Accenture.
Wow. Wells
Yeah,
Fargo and Accenture as well.
yeah, IQVIA. So I mean, all these people have been, I mean, it's so for us. When I say that this model success or failure directly depends upon the community. So, for example, for a Toshit, who's got Down syndrome, um, he walking into a woman's washroom thrice, and it's been more than a year, that he is engaged with us, and today he trains other adults with intellectual disabilities. It's only possible because the ANZ Bank wanted Toshit to be there with us, as much as we wanted him to be. So, inclusion can only happen if the society comes together, and we're very proud to be associated with these amazing corporations, who truly believe in the cause
How do
and take.
you establish that partnership? What's your pitch when you go in there? Because that's got to be frightening or overwhelming for, a young lady such as yourself that comes in a powerhouse. You got the passion, you got the perseverance. You come in and say, "Hey, we have a cafe." Why would they want to work with you over like a Starbucks or a big name company?
Yeah, and that's solely because of the kind of stories that we have, and the power that they have, so as to ensure that we can create many more such stories. Our first employee was this girl, Phil, who came in crawling for the interview because her parents could not afford a wheelchair. Today, that girl sitting on her wheelchair that she bought for herself with her own salary, her first salary, manages 7 other people with disability. She is the manager for our first cafe. Her name is Kirti. Today we have 116 Kirtis and 116 stories. We can make it, we can multiply it with every cafe that we start, and they have the power to create more Kirtis. So I give the power to them.
I'm gonna cry on the first podcast episode. You're making me
Aww.
tear up already. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. The beautiful work that you're doing. Wow, someone needs to make a documentary about the work you're doing with all these uplifting stories. Someone needs to hear about this. So I hope those listening can help benefit and contribute. How can we serve you and your team? What if someone's listening right now in the US or in Europe and they want to contribute to the work you're doing? How can they get involved directly or
Sure.
indirectly?
Sure. So, Phil, we have 2 campaigns running as of now. So, since all our cafes are non-operational, they'll not be operational till September or October, which means that we need some surplus contingency funds to ensure that we don't let go of even one of our dedicated employees. That campaign is running in, on a platform called Milab, in which people from across the world are contributing. Maybe you could attach the link to that. The second campaign that we're doing is the No Hunger campaign, where our adults with disabilities are cooking and serving meals to daily wage earners and the homeless every day. So if anybody would want to participate in that through by contributing through cash or kind, we're very open to donations in kind as well. If people would want to donate rations in India, we are open to that, and we always feel that Mitti Cafe doesn't belong to any individual but belongs to the community. And here's an appeal that if anybody would want to participate in any which way, they're more than welcome.
We will put those links in the show notes for you that are listening and you want to contribute. And if you're in India, please visit. Alina and her team were nice enough to offer generosity to anyone listening, and you go and visit the cafe. If you use the code Mitti Cafe return a gift, you will receive a discount. Is that correct?
That is That is. So anyone who's hearing Phil's podcast and, you have the coupon code there. So if you'll visit any of our cafes in India, you get a discount.
After this,
Yeah.
I don't even think they would want to, if anything, they're going to want to pay more to invest in the work that you're doing. And they can visit, even if it's inside of a corporate like Wells Fargo, they can still visit.
They could. So you could just give my email ID. Whenever they want to visit, they could drop me an email and we could arrange for their pass.
Please go and visit Alina and the Mitti Cafe. And by the way, Mitti, can you share how you came up with the name?
Oh, yes. So Mitti means mud. And why mud? Because, when you look at any religious or spiritual connotation, it says that we're all coming from mud and unto mud we'll return, which means that despite us being so different and diverse, our existence and our end is the same. Hence, Mitti Cafe.
Beautiful. Great idea. And actually, I just thought of something with regard to contributing to your work. There's another Forbes member I just interviewed as well, a good friend of mine, Pascal, who's on the Forbes list out of Germany, and he's created the largest volunteer platform in the world called Volunteer World. And he connects companies like yours with volunteers around the world. And it's like the Airbnb for international volunteering. So maybe it'd be interesting to get your entity, Mitti Cafe, on the platform to allow others from around the world to see the work that you're doing and contribute and share it on social media and get it there, get people knowing about it. This is great work that you're doing. And Alina, we're going to transition now into something I like to call the under 30 seconds round, where I'm going to fire off some questions and you want to answer with the first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Sure.
What is the book, Alina, you've gifted more often than any other book, and why?
How to Stop Worrying and Living Life.
By Dale Carnegie. How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Great, great book. Number two, what's one of the, why did you choose that book?
Because that book really helped me, and it's got practical solutions to a lot of problems. And and in fact, am I allowed to see a second book? Or
please do.
Yeah. So, what I've always believed in is that, you should read the meaning of, whatever religion that you practice. So, anyone I meet, I try to give them a translation of the Vedas or the Quran, the English translation, so that they know what's written in it. So, yeah.
That's great. I actually just picked up, my girlfriend is Moroccan. And I wanted to see all three books, the Quran, the Torah, and the Bible, because the three Abrahamic religions all tell a full story, and they're just each a portion of that story. So it's interesting to see how each religion has a different perspective on the story, and it's very cool to learn more about it in the story.
And the number of similarities as well. So it's just amazing.
A lot of similarities. Number two, what's one of the best investments and one of the worst investments you've ever made, and why?
So again, one of the best investment, has been the investment of my time, like the first time and money into the first Mitti Cafe in that tin shed. So that was like an investment of 30,000. Which was crowdfunded from family, friends, relatives, and with which I could buy my second-hand and third-hand equipments to start the cafe. The worst investment, so a lot of personal investments, that I've made, but nothing that I'd, call my worst investment, really.
Yeah, because sometimes even if you make a bad investment, you still learn from the experience and you gain something.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah.
Number three, what's the most impactful thing you do in your morning routine and the most impactful thing you do in your evening routine?
So, in my morning routine, I make it a point to run. I think running is a great exercise. Running and praying. I start my day with these two things, and I end my day by basically writing down everything amazing that's happened. For me, for Mitti, in the course of the day. So it just, I try to end it on a positive note.
Excellent.
And express gratitude.
Gratitude and journaling. Pretend you won the Peter Thiel Fellowship and you were going to get money to start a business instead of go to school. What's the very first thing you do to start a new business?
So again, the very first thing that I do to start a new business would definitely be to sit down, and because we've got a couple of fantastic mentors who guided our way across, and basically reaching out to them. And the business would definitely be, now that I can't think of anything other than Mitti Cafe, now that Mitti Cafe has happened for us. It's just given all of us so much of happiness. So yeah.
Excellent. And what's something you never knew you needed?
What's something that I never knew I needed?
Never knew you needed.
What's something I ever knew that? So so for me, I feel that one of the things that I never knew that I need. Can't think of anything as of now.
I'll give you an example. Like, this is a simplistic example, but this little pop socket on my phone, I never knew I needed this. My buddy said, just try it for a week, see how you like it. If you like it, keep it on. If not, take it off. And now I can't believe I ever used the iPhone without having this thing.
Okay. So for me, I feel, so my creativity gets enhanced when I have like a pencil, and a paper to scribble on. So, that's always like a to-do thing for me, that, whenever I'm thinking, I have to get these two things to basically, enhance my creativity. So that's always worked out for me.
Paper and pencil, very important. Alina, thank you so much for being here today. It was such a pleasure. And I am really excited to share this story with everyone that needs to hear it and be able to contribute to your cause. And you were so generous to offer a coupon code. We learned so much today. Where do listeners go to connect with you directly?
So they could email to me. I could just send you my email ID that you could post on the podcast link.
What about your website? Do you want to share?
On our website, yes, on our website, it's mitticafe.org that people could visit. And
Could you spell that for them so they know where to go? MITTI cafe.org.
Mitticafe.org, yes.
Perfect. Please go connect with Alina. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here today. This is Alina with Mitti Cafe, who provides cafes for those with disabilities. We learned so much. We learned how to make your tea more impactful and meaningful. We learned how to get in front of these corporations and keep being adamant, keep persevering, even when the odds are against you. Such a beautiful story, and so much impact is happening here. Alina, thank you so much for being here today. It was such a pleasure.
For having me. Thank you so much.
I hope this episode helped you as much as it helped me. Have an amazing day. Thanks for joining us today. I hope this episode helped you as much as it helped me. Who do you think would benefit from hearing it? You can make an impact on their life by sharing it now. Before you go, I encourage you to tell us your favorite part of the episode in the review section. Now it's time to level up. Level up.